everyone, this is CJ Novo 982 and today we are back with another brand new video. Today's video we're here to discuss the man who will tear your checkbook apart, Ryan Kent. Nah, I can't do that honestly. I've done a lot of bad things on this channel, a lot of cheesy, bad, cringe-worthy things, but that's too far. Promise me you won't put that on. Promise? Okay. But before we go any further and start discussing Mr. Kent in more detail, just a friendly reminder in case you are new around here and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please consider doing so and help the channel on our way towards the next freaking milestone. We've smashed 26, let's get to 27 ASAP. 3, 2, 1. Ryan Kent to the Glasgow Rangers. It's something we've wanted all season long. You check the comments section, you check Twitter. Ryan Kent has won every single Rangers fan's heart this season with his directness, his skill on the ball, and being one of the few players this season, doesn't matter what game it's in, he's always trying to be positive. He's not a passenger. I think that's the one thing you will say before we break down any of the stats. You can clearly see that man doesn't just pass the buck from side to side and hope someone else wins it. He is always trying to be that outlet every single time he's played for the Rangers this season. But as of the last 48 hours, there's been a massive discussion happening between Rangers fans online and everywhere regarding Ryan Kent, because Sky Sports actually broke the news because of their sources revealed that Liverpool will be wanting £7 million for Ryan Kent to come to the Glasgow Rangers. If we want to make it happen, that is how much we are wanting to pay. Now, in an ideal world, we'll obviously get him back on loan for another year. That would be absolutely perfect. But the way Sky Sports and everything's talking is Liverpool is willing to actually part with the man and part with the man with the cash. There's Norwich, there's a couple other teams actually looking at Ryan Kent so far this season for the Rangers. So if we want Ryan Kent, it looks like it's probably going to have to be in this summer transfer window. So let's do what we always do on this channel. If you followed it for a little while, we always look down the actual stats and see what the man's actually brought to Rangers statistically throughout the entire season long. Now, I know stats aren't everything, and I always get that whenever I discuss them. People say, "Aye, but that he could be the assist of the assist that then gets the goal," and I completely agree. Stats aren't everything, but it's a good little gauger to see what he's actually done impactfully on the actual season so far. So let's actually start off with the league this season. He's played 21 games. He has 5 goals and 6 assists so far. Please be adding to that on Sunday. You know what I mean? Please. But let's continue with the league discussion then, shall we? He has been picked in the starting 11 a very impressive 64% of the time. Whenever he's available and fully fit, he's pretty much played. The long spell that really dropped him from being even higher is obviously when he had that knock just before New Year. And when he is actually starting in the league, by the way, he is lasting to the 90 only 59% of the time now. So obviously above average and everything like that. But that one really surprised me, because you think late in games when we've really lacked that creativity to score last minute goals. I mean, you look at the last 3 or 4 weeks where other teams scored last ditch goals and that's pulled them away from where we actually are. We just don't score late goals. That's been our problem all season long. And when you actually look at further, by the time that Ryan Kent is actually off the field, that is when we're really struggling. So I think that stat is very important, and it goes hand in hand with our late game struggles. But there is actually one last percentage that I'm actually wanting to look at. In the league this season, again, only the league, Ryan Kent has been involved in 16% of our goals scored in the SPFL this season. But obviously we've played a lot of football this season. We've played in Europe, we've played in the Cups, etc. So let's look at the overall stats for Ryan Kent this season to get a better understanding of the man himself. He's played 37 games in all competitions. He's consistent with his goals anyway, because he still hasn't actually scored in any other competition, so he still sits at 5 and obviously ends with 9 assists. And there's only one other stat that I want to look at throughout his entire season long, and that's how many minutes that he's actually played for the Glasgow Rangers. So when we start comparing him to other players, not only at Rangers Football Club but elsewhere, this will be very important to see what he's actually doing with his time on the field. He's got a very impressive 2,949 minutes under his belt for the Glasgow Rangers this season, which again is totaling 37 appearances, 5 goals and 9 assists. So that's an important one to remember. But even being a Ryan Kent fan, taking a step back and look at just the stats, taking the blue Ryan Kent tinted glasses off, that is a very disappointing return for Ryan Kent, especially only having 5 goals throughout all those games that he's actually played, and only having 9 assists in all competitions just isn't that great. And I think it highlights his biggest problem, which is obviously his end product, whether it's his finishing, which can be very wayward. I mean, he's missed a couple of one-on-ones, one against Celtic, which was quite obvious, and it definitely should have actually scored it. His long-range shooting's never been that great, you know what I mean? Sometimes he's smashing them miles over the bar, other times he's trickling it at the goalkeeper like it's a pass back, so there is a clear problem there. But his overall raw talent, he is a very talented player, and in my opinion, he's probably the most talented player beside Alfredo Morelos that we've had at the club for a very long time. He's just one of those exciting players. But let's compare what he's actually done impactfully, stats-wise, with other players at our club, because this should be actually pretty damn interesting. Now, obviously, we could look at the right-hand side with Daniel Candeias and Grezda, etc. But you know what I mean? They are right-sided players, so let's actually compare him to his direct competition out on the left. And let's start off with the young wonder kid himself, Mr. Glenn Middleton, who started off very, very brightly. Everyone wanted to give a chance to. Then he sort of fell away, and he's trying really, really hard to actually get back amongst the actual setup. But let's look at what he's done so far in all competitions he has played. 28 games, he has 5 goals, so the exact same as Ryan Kent, and also 5 assists as well. So in 9 less games than Ryan Kent, Glenn Middleton has the same amount of goals and just obviously lacking in the assists. But the true tell in that is not only just the games played, is actually the minutes, because of all those 28 appearances for Glenn Middleton, most of them have actually been impactful substitute appearances. 50 minutes here, 50 minutes there. His overall minutes so far this season has been 1,020 minutes. That is absolutely nuts. That's almost a third of Ryan Kent's minutes, which obviously makes him, if you just look at minutes per game ratio, our best winger in the club, Glenn Middleton, and he doesn't even get a sniff anymore. Which is actually quite mental, because if you check, people are saying, oh, he's no ready, he's no this, he's no that, he showed glimpses, but when you actually look at the overall stats, it shows that not only is he ready, he's our actual best minutes per game ready player in the actual club, obviously besides Alfredo Morelos, by far the best winger as well. Madness. But anyway, let's move on from another player. Obviously, we're not going to look at Jamie Murphy because it just isn't fair. Jamie Murphy hasn't played all season long, obviously, since that Kilmarnock game, so it's not really fair. But let's actually look at someone that we are actually bringing in the summer by the name of Jordan Jones. Jury is still well and truly out on Jordan. Some people are already labelling him the next Josh Windass, and others are actually welcoming him because of his Northern Ireland appearances. So let's look at what the man's done all season long. In all competition, Jordan Jones has played 34 games. He has 4 goals and 4 assists in 2,623 minutes. So a lot closer to Ryan Kent in terms of goals and minutes. But again, when you actually compare his stats, Glenn Middleton still beats them both. Madness. So that's us actually done with the comparison side of things. Now we've actually looked at who his competition would be if he did sign for Rangers on a permanent, Glenn Middleton, and obviously the incoming Jordan Jones. So I'd be very interested for you guys to get your thoughts and opinions now that you've actually seen a wee bit of that and react to that. Do you think we actually need Ryan Kent? And while you're getting your thoughts and opinions, I'm going to give you mine. I would still say yes, believe it or not, even though I kind of broke down the stats and they aren't that impressive and not too far away from someone we're actually getting a free, and obviously our young wonder kid is basically beating him if you look at the minutes actually played. But what you're getting with Ryan Kent is not only just like the stats, you know what I mean, he is a very, very young talented player that could go on. This isn't one of these guys we're signing at 34, 35 is going to have no value. If we bring in Ryan Kent in a couple of years time, more consistent football, he finds a consistent level of performance and finds that end product, he could be worth a lot of cash. I know that's a lot of ifs and maybes, but it's a hell of a lot better than signing 35, 36 people like Stuart Downing, who's just going to be a negative overall for the club. Bring in someone, spend a little bit of cash, or maybe like a Ryan Kent, but in a couple of years down the line, it obviously improves us as a team. That's been shown all season long, but also brings a level of value to Rangers, which we've not had in any of our players in a very, very long time. Which actually leads me perfectly to my next point. It's going to be the value, the £7 million, because not only do you want to sign him, is he actually worth £7 million? That is what we're going to try and discover in this part of today's video, because when you first think £7 million, you say, no, he's no worth that. This is Scottish football. We barely get any cashola. £7 million is a lot. But we actually need to look at the actual English value, and English value adds a hell of a lot on now. Like, the world's moved on. Bayern Munich just signed Atletico Madrid's 4th choice centre-back for 65 million frickin' pounds. Waghorn, we sold them for 500k. A year later of playing in the Championship, they sold them for 5 million. Everything's heightened down there. Like, the world's obviously moved on. The transfers, inflation has well and truly moved on. And I'm like so many of you guys that think 7 million's a lot now, but when you actually compare it to what the actual transfers are, it's not anymore. It's madness, but it's true. And I know £7 million sounds actual scary, but when you look at what else is happening in our actual league just now, Aberdeen are holding out for 8 to 10 million for Scott McKenna. Hibs got 5 million for McGinn, and obviously Celtic paid 9 million for their striker. And last but not least, we spent 3.3 on Carlos Pena. I have no idea if I'm actually making sense right now, but I just want to make one last little point before we end today's video. Let's say that we owned Ryan Kent, right, and he just put that level of performance out for the entire season. It's very good on the eye, maybe not in the stats wise, but we know how we actually feel about Ryan Kent. He's 22 years old, he's English, obviously that adds value as well these days, but 4 or 5 years left on his actual contract. If a team came in the summer and was linked with our player Ryan Kent for only £7 million, would you be willing to actually sell Ryan Kent, with all that being said, for only £7 million? Me personally, I think if I was making a video, I'd say no. I don't want us to actually accept that. I mean, we're pushing for about 20 million for Alfredo Morelos. If we're looking at Ryan Kent with all this potential that he could eventually turn into, I think I'd be sitting there and saying no to the actual 7 million. That is why I'm sort of warmer to actually bidding and actually signing Mr. Ryan Kent for the alleged £7 million. Now, am I saying go out and spend £7 million on Ryan Kent? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I can understand if we actually did it. I think we should go and try and get another loan and see what we could eventually turn into with another year of football under his actual belt. But before we actually finish up and read out the people's opinion on Twitter, just one last little question. Now you've heard everything I've had to say about Ryan Kent. We've broke down absolutely everything. Would you be open to the signing of Ryan Kent for £7 million? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. And while we're getting your thoughts and opinions out there, let's jump over to Twitter then, shall we? It's got 1,260 votes. Honestly, thank you so much. That's absolutely amazing. Can we try and hit that on likes, if you don't mind? That'd be amazing. Helps the channel. Okay, I'll move on. 68% of the people actually votes for no. They wouldn't sign Ryan Kent for £7 million, and they don't think he's actually worth that much. I mean, that's completely fair, but let's see what they've had to say. Bob Steele says he's good and has lots of potential. I would have signed him with no doubt around 3 to 5 million, but I think 7 million is a bit just too much. At that price, we might just have to make Jones and Murphy on the left wing this season and see how they actually get on. Scott Skinner writes in, not currently. I take him back on a loan next year though, but I would rather us focus on getting our own young talented youngsters into positions where they can play week in and week out. That's completely fair. Lee writes in, I like Kent, but demanding 7 million for essentially an academy player is laughable. It's a shame as he clearly enjoys his football with us. And the last 2 or 3 that we'll actually read out come from Mac. He writes in, I think he is. If Morelos is sold, amazing on the ball, only going to get better with assists and goals. Had top drawer finishes this season against Hamilton and St Mirren. Insane in the Old Firm against them in December. He has huge potential, so it's actually a yes for me. Aidan writes in, he is a good winger to have. He is able to beat a man and have a good shot on him, but 7 million is about right, and I'm an Aberdeen actual fan. So there it is. So an Aberdeen fan thinks he's actually worth 7 million. And the last one we'll actually read out comes from Moles. She's in every single video, so thank you so much for getting involved. She writes in, honestly, yes, he's got the skill that you can't teach. Yeah, maybe he needs to work on his shooting and we can teach him that, but his ability to beat a man and rip them to pieces is second to none, and it's very, very hard to come by, which is actually a great point. When is the last time we had a player that with that ability on the ball that was able to beat a man as easy as Ryan Kent makes it week in and week out? But there it is, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Sorry if it's a bit of a messy video. I'll try and tidy up on the actual edit, but you've heard from the people, you've heard from myself. If you haven't done so already, you know what to do by now. And if you don't mind hitting that like button, again, I know I mentioned it earlier in the video, but definitely helps the channel out, especially as I was trying to push our way towards that 27k. And as always, shout out to the 51 strong on the Patreons account. I genuinely can't thank you guys enough for your support week in and week out. If you would like to help support the channel directly, the link for that is down in the description below. I've been TJNovo92. Thank you so much for watching, and bye.